All right, welcome back to Clark's Place. Today I will be going through and blocking the primer that I just put down. If you stuck with me, I appreciate you watching the countless hours, not countless hours, but caught on film, countless hours of me getting rid of all the runs from underneath the hood, underneath the trunk deck, and that sealing that I did under there, and then the detail blocking and sanding that I did on the Charger, the body and the fenders and all that good stuff. So now I've sprayed the black. That was a video that was probably, I don't know, a 4-hour day of spraying all the black condensed down into 45 minutes or so for you. If you watched that, you also probably checked out me spraying the gray on the top of that. So I've got thick coats of high build primer on the car, black underneath this, that when I go to block this, which is this video, is hopefully this is the final blocking video for the 69 Dodge Charger. When I block this gray, I'll be able to see some high spots and stuff come through, the black start to come through, and hopefully I will be able to see that I get through and actually do sand out all the layers of gray, that I won't see that little bit of unsanded top coat of like a darker gray. This gets a little bit lighter color when you do sand it. So that's what I'm hoping for. So my intent is to spend as much time as possible to get this ready to be sanded all the way down and then seal it with the white. And then I've got a white pearl that I'm going to put for the bumblebee stripe. I've got to mask it. I probably said it 52 times, but then the hood stripe gets a white treatment too. So I'll probably spray the white, mask it off, then spray all the red, and then clear it all. So hopefully coming soon. Hopefully this is the last sanding video you got to watch. Stay tuned. Okay, for this round of blocking, I'm going to use the sticky 400 Rhino stick roll, and then I've also got from Automotive Paint and Supply there, you've seen them in another video of ours. I've got these pads that I believe they're 5-inch pads for the DA, so 400 pads as well. So I think that will be a good block. I might start out with 220 just to knock down to make sure I've got everything blocking out, and then go back over everything with the 400. So hopefully it'll all block out. And once again, I'll be using this, I believe it's AFS. Looks like MN USA. I don't know if that's Montana. Patent pending. I don't see any. Oh, here's 877-459-7167 is the number, if you can read that on there. This bends and flexes, and it doesn't bind the paper, where I believe we've done this in another video, where the long block that I've got, when it flexes a little bit, the paper binds up on it and makes lines. So awesome. Get one of these. It's a metal pin, and it's also got 3 rods that go through if you want to keep it very, very straight. So those are my tools for the day. All right, everybody, I'm just going to narrate over most of all of this high-intensive, high-speed block sanding. I always like to start out on the roof. That was a real problem at the beginning of it, and I had the car for 20-some years, drug it all over the country, different places I've lived, and always set stuff on top of it. And I've probably said it in some other videos, maybe some of the first ones, but heck, we're on episode 20 by now, so don't remember if I noted it or not, but I set some 2x4s across and then stacked stuff on top of the car and just dented the heck out of the roof of that car. So for it to block out like that with just the few lines that it's got, a few places that actually sanded through that were high, it all ended up blocking out there, and I'm really pleased with how the roof came out there. So coming down the sail panel, and I always look at the sail panels because those from the factory are never really perfect. You look at some original cars that go through Mecum and stuff like that that are all original paint and all that, you'll see some, it's not quite the best lead work through there, and with all the Bondo and Duraglass and welding across that solid sail panel there that I did, it actually all sanded out pretty good. Here I did just a regular speed just to kind of show what I had just blocked, And actually everything did really block out there. You can see all that sanded. There's some darker in the lower right there that I have not sanded yet. But pretty much that problem child area there, I'm showing Pops there a little bit. That problem area, he and I just really looked it over, and you could see it was actually getting down like it should be there. And I may have done something with the parts blaster over there with him to help him out some, but yeah, just going through, you can see just there a little dark area right there at the very outside hip showed up that burnt through. So that is a high spot, and the gray all sanded around it. So I did get down into the black there at that widest portion of the car there. And show another live footage here as I go through, and that top edge there, that top corner, you can see that's dark gray, and even a little bit that was the high spot traditionally right there where my hand is, and that's not through to the black yet, but that center area is actually pretty much sanded there, and there's that bottom left edge right by the fender well, you can see is a little bit gray still. So do some more blocking. You'll see as I go here, this dark area is exposed. There's two little dots there, and as I go, it kind of does sand that out further. And I'm thinking that I've got it all the same plane, the same level, same depth of paint there. If I were to go over it now with the white final stage of sealer, I think that it'll all be on the same plane, same level. I don't know how you say that exactly, but all the same coat of paint, like it won't show any ripples in it. This rocker was, I spent tons and tons and tons of time right there on that rocker transition into the quarter, and you can see it does show some variation there, that it sands out, but it all sands smooth. Here I do my quick little trick there. Take a drink. You can see I think this is my third shirt that I've got on, or maybe this is shirt number 2. This might be day 2 of doing it. But I went over to this quarter, and you see it burnt through a little bit there at the very back of it, and then the furthest point out of the hip there, you can see a little bit of dark starting there. And this was a problem child, same as the other side, where that rear marker light is stamped, I guess. It makes a little weird ripple that you can see a little bit of dark area, and I grab the light there and start looking at it. But it all kind of, I think of it like it's a pool. Is the high spots sand black, it sands through the top layer because they're high, and then it leaves almost like a little pool of gray primer that's left down there that hopefully fills it all in. I'm not the most experienced at this. I've done several cars and done some pretty darn good paint jobs in the past of some other vehicles, but I think this is the farthest length I've ever taken any car, and most attention to detail I've ever paid, because it's my car and I want it to be absolutely perfect, but I just don't want to get it done and go, man, if I would have just done this. So I made a mistake. I think it was in the beginning of this video that I say something to the effect of taking as much time as possible, and I know that's what my dad thinks, is I'm taking as much time as possible. I want to take the time that's necessary to get it right. You can see there in that little sequence there, I was sanding it vertically, and then I put a chair behind it because it kept swinging, and I couldn't get a good block on it. So I just took it off the rack there that it was hanging, and kind of go with the long block there. And you can see how much primer I'm taking off. I mean, every 2 seconds here of footage, I'm spraying it off because it's got so much of that top layer of gray that's coming off. And it's kind of like you can almost see the understructure come through to the top side, like that skin is just thrown over a frame underneath. So you can kind of see the framework underneath, like, and I'm not, it might look like I'm really pushing on that, but I'm not pushing it at all. It's just, I'm letting that weight of that block, keeping it flat, holding both sides, and just kind of going back and forth, left to right, up, down. And then you see kind of the areas that are being pushed through. And here you can see there's a dimple on the right and a dimple on the left. Well, okay, that's gone pretty quick. Here I was starting with the block, and I just was just having a lot of trouble. I was trying to walk all over, and you could not really get it to lay flat, to push the thing flat and get it to go. So my intention all along was on the long block there, I was using 320 the whole time. So I have the 400 basically there on those rolls that I showed at the very beginning of the video, and just using the 400, and it seemed to knock all of it down. I didn't think that 400 would knock all of that down and actually cut through right there in that bottom of that quarter. You could see it cuts all the way down through the black. There were a couple little runs there in it, and pretty much in each of these big panels, the doors and the fenders, you'll see me take and use the orbital with the 400 and run around. And then for all the little detail stuff that I'm running around the inner fenders and edges and making sure every little nook and cranny gets sanded, they're used pieces of 320 that came off the super long block there. So I kept those and just folded them in half off of that block, and then I used them to run around the whole fenders and get all the nooks and crannies sanded here. A lot of that fender is exposed. That part I'm sanding right there, that folds down where it bolts through. A lot of that is exposed on the Dodge. So I'm kind of in a quandary of how I want to paint the car red. I think I want to put all the fenders on and everything, but getting all of the inner jambs painted, I want those all to be painted red and cleared and all that as well. So I think in order to accomplish what I want, I'm going to have to spray everything with the fenders off, spray it all red, clear it, then tape that stuff off. Yeah, you can see me hit the other side with 400 as well. But then tape all that stuff off, the insides of the fenders. They've been sprayed red for a year. As soon as I bought them, I stripped them all down and sprayed them all with basically the etching primer, then I painted the insides of them, thinking that I wouldn't have to really mess with them again. But I've done so much work to them, had to modify them to get to fit the car, had to adjust everything. I've welded that piece that's sticking up in the air on the left side that looks dark, that I actually had to move the mounting holes just with how I mounted my quarters and the doors lining up to the fenders, to the cowl and the hood as well, where all that, it's like those holes were not perfect, so I had to cut the holes out and re-weld those. They may be in another video. I don't even know what I've recorded at this point. I've recorded so much on the restoration, but I don't know if I actually ever showed that I moved the holes for mounting on those. But same deal here, is really making sure. You'll see me rub just with my hands a lot of times as well, especially on these doors. You'll see that I do the long block here, do all of the door, and then you'll see me come back in. Another favorite part of a 69 and 68 Charger is those doors with those scallops. Such an iconic looking door, but they are tough to sand though and not burn everything through. So you'll see me take the sandpaper in my hand, and I'm rubbing around, feeling for any rough spot, because that 400 makes everything just so super slick on that. And then I take this and that sandpaper and I'm feeling all around for anything that feels rough whatsoever. So yeah, and then even all the holes where the screws are like recessed, like for the door latch, for all of that stuff, where you've got a hole that's kind of a cavity, it kind of bevels in. I'm taking it and I'm pushing it in. Oh yeah, this I go live footage. This is pretty interesting here, how it's stamped. It's kind of crushed, and like the metal is folded over there. If you've got some pictures of yours, some factory ones, these are AMD doors. If you've got some that actually show a factory press there that shows how they're squashed together, I'd be interested in seeing how close AMD's squish mark is, if their tools and dies for stamping these doors out and getting them pressed together, if they're close to an original OE door. I don't know. But yeah, if you've got anything, send them to ClarksPlace at yahoo.com. But you'll see me. This is the 69 front valance, and well, all of it's the 69 parts, but I've got the 72 rear valance coming up here next. But I don't know what all those holes are in the the front of a 69 valance. I don't know what those big two are on the bottom. I know the front one's for the valance lights, but it's been forever since I took the car apart, so to get this brand new in the mail, and I trashed my old one, so to get that brand new in the mail and look at it, it's like, wow, I never knew there were so many holes in this dang thing. But there's probably bumper brackets and all kinds of ties and stuff that come through there, but we'll see. That'll be interesting to put it all back together. But this is Dad's 72 rear valance for the Challenger that's up on the lift behind there. This, when we painted the car, it was on the car when he bought it, and somebody had hacked a bunch of like tabs and welded a bunch of little tab marks and stuff like that for it to go on. And just what I think he took it off, and we really didn't think that it was going to be that big of a bear to get it back in there, but we ended up taking and slicing down the whole valance on both sides and closing it in just a little bit. It's like whoever mounted the quarters on this car, they were in just a smidge, and that rear valance would not line up. So quite a bit of work went into that. I like slicing a valance in half and then butt welding it back together and making it to where you can't even tell that anything was done. But yeah, definitely full custom valance on that 72 Challenger he's got. And this, I fight my stupid door cart all the time, sanding it, and then the door moves on the cart, and then the cart moves. I need some locking wheels on that dang thing. Oh, and here's a pretty interesting part. Watch the bottom right as I think when I took off my paper, I could see that it had a bunch of crap underneath it. Yeah, look at that bottom right, how you think you've got it pretty darn straight, and then you go blocking with a long block, and it's like, wow, there were some serious variations to the top surface of that. So I do everything with the long block, and then there was a chip in that upper left. I think I noted it when I was painting. You saw a little chip in it, and I had to sand down through what looks like 186 layers of primer and different color variations there, but it all came out and all ends up pretty good. Like I've said 26 and a half times here, that I'm hoping that all of the work and all of the extra time that I've put in on all this stuff does show that it's a super straight, nice show car when it's all said and done. But I don't know if you'll see the edge that I sanded that down, if you can tell that it's not perfect, because I had to sand that chip out, and maybe it does go down a little bit. I don't know if you'll be able to tell something like that, or if it'll be that noticeable. There's a couple little screw holes in that end of the door there that I talked about, beveled edges, that I'm sticking the sandpaper down in that beveled edge and making sure all that gets sanded out. And oh yeah, see the grinder there? I found as I was sanding that edge where I think the door seal actually glues onto that and kind of clips in, there were two things right there you can see right by my head. That it was like bad slaggy weld marks from AMD. And the other door, I looked at the other door, it was not like that. You can tell it's welded, but it's like somehow that weld was not finished out. So just going over, I think I had already long blocked this with 320, and 320 to 400, it doesn't seem like it'd be that big of a difference, but man, it goes, that 400 is really super slick. And all the TV shows and stuff that I've watched and listening to people, I think 400 scratches fill in good with the final sealer before you paint. Fills in scratches and so on and so forth. But I don't know about going any slicker than the 400. So I think I'm going to leave it at the 400 and call it a day. And we'll cut to some live audio here. Found a new dent. All these AMD panels were really, really nice, but they all have little things, I guess, from stamping and all of that that come through. You can see this edge. Just the way it's pressed to get it perfectly flat. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 layers of primer that it's still burnt through there to get all this level. But this guy here, being it's in the middle of that tail, I think I'm drawn to this look. That's partly why I like the car, is that little ducktail it's got at the back. I'm gonna see that little ripple, so I'm gonna heat it up with some heat, a torch, and then like cold quench it, see if that'll go down. If not, I might take the spinning disc to it, and worst case scenario, tap that down just a smidge, and then do a little bit of filler to where I can get all this perfect. It's just ever so slight, but I don't like it. All right, everybody, thanks for watching all of the blocking that I did. Tried to do most of it in fast motion, that way everything would go by quickly. So I've probably voiced over all of the stuff, but just to do a quick live action update of what it actually looks like. The hood top ended up pretty good. I still have to do just the detail along the front edge. You can see that's not been sanded yet. But overall, blocked down pretty good. My areas that you saw had a lot of issue, you can make out that that's all sanded there. Actually sanded down like it should. This area was low. It burnt through into the black layer that I got there, and you can see it got into the black there, and this was still gray as I blocked. You can see the darker color gray there that it didn't sand in this little area here, but I'll finesse that out, and those are fine, but I want the panel to be straight. So this is kind of a little bit low here, but got into the black, sanded out pretty good. So everything got sanded. The very bottom edge down there you saw, thought that was pretty cool to see it just quickly sand out, and you can see it all blocks out. This was a darker layer of primer as well that didn't get sanded. Heavy primer in there, and you can see that's all the same color gray as well. And then this area here, there's just a little bit of a darker line along in there that I think that just has a little bit of a body line to it. So I'm not taking that out, and like I said, I've got to go back through and do some detail around. I haven't sanded any of this. This is all still rough. This has got the 400 on it, so it's super slick. So that's kind of the state of how everything ended up. There's the hoods, the doors, the fenders, trunk deck. I still need to fix that little bit in the back of the trunk. Might do a little video on that. And then this all sanded out pretty good too. I even used the, I'll show you this stuff here. I even used this stuff. I don't know what the name of it is, but it's just some little like chalk stuff that you put in, and then you put this on the panel, and then it gives you a nice dark area. And then when you actually take your block and go over that, you can see that everything sands out. So I'm not going to disturb how it is, but that's kind of how that stuff works. I'm sure you've seen it before if you've watched any kind of automobile videos, but that's kind of the state of things. Thank you again for watching. Next steps hopefully will be, I might do a video or something on the Cricut program to do the RT stripe. Do that, then get the thing in white after I do lots of the little detail sanding that I'm not going to record all that good stuff. So thanks again for watching. We appreciate it. Bye-bye.